This show is part of the M4D Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Made for Disney, the happiest podcast to ever sail the Seven Seas Lagoon. I'm Erin.
I'm Lily.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Michelle.
Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Made for Disney, the happiest podcast to ever sail the Seven Seas Lagoon. I'm Erin and I'll be your captain today. Joining me, I have Sean, our navigator.
Hello.
And Lily, our first mate.
Hello.
Sadly, Michelle is not joining us here on the episode today, but we do have a special guest that'll be joining us in just a minute here. I guess I'll go ahead and I'll announce who it is. We have a friend of ours, Dorothy Holland, who is a independent contractor for Years of Experience, which is a travel agent for Disney World. And we're going to be talking to her about what she does and why you should be using her. Now let's get on with the show. All right, so today we have a special guest. Joining us, we have Dorothy, who is an independent agent of Years of Experience, and we're going to talk about the parks a little bit with her, but you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little more?
Sure, I'll be happy to. As she said, I am an independent agent with Years of Experience, which is a travel agency that focuses on Disney destinations. Walt Disney World, Disneyland Resort, Aulani Hawaiian Resort, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, and even the beach resorts at Hilton Head and Vero Beach. The way it works is that while I am technically a travel agent, I do more than just book the trips and send people on their way. For example, with Walt Disney World, there is a lot to know to travel to Walt Disney World. Dining reservations are made 180 days out. Fast passes are made 60 days out for resort guests. There are so many things, and things change, and the parks are enormous, and if you've never been, it is incredibly difficult to navigate. And so that's where I come in. My clients don't need to read guidebooks or blogs or ask their friends or poll people on Disney fan sites. They can ask me. And I keep up with the changes. Our agency is so big that we have pretty much boots on the ground at Walt Disney World every day of the year. And we are updated almost instantaneously in our agent group. Someone will let us know that something has closed for the rest of the day, or that there's been an incident, or that they are doing a soft open on a new ride. And we are able to even update our clients while they are in the park. So I help families choose just the right resort, just the right package. We try to make it practically perfect in every way, get them booked, and then I take care of knowing when to make their dining reservations and so on. And I provide to them a park plan before we do that, where I've suggested what park to be in on which day based on park hours and crowd projected calendars, and even things like knowing that if they want to get a fast pass for a brand new attraction, then they're going to want to visit that park on the very last day of their trip so that we can try to get that fast pass. So I just help families make their memories and have their magical vacation and try to take the stress and the worry and the planning out of it, and I take care of all that.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah. I'm surprised she didn't run out of breath there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because as you know, we're DVC, so we've never really had the opportunity to go to a travel agent. Probably since our honeymoon, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kids went around for that. How would it start? If I'm coming to you and I want to book a trip, how's the whole process begin?
Once you contact me, the very first thing that we need to do is to try to settle in on dates. And I will help with that. Now, of course, most families are limited by the school calendar. A lot of families aren't, and different school districts have different vacations. So they might know the season that they want to go, and I'll help them pin down exactly when, or they're limited to school breaks, and I'll help them choose the one that I hope is going to be the least crowded and have the nicest weather. And once we have picked out dates, we go on to the next step. One of the things that I do is I provide the families and individuals that travel with me with a questionnaire that asks them things such as, do you want to visit more than one park per day? Do you want to visit the water parks? Which characters are most important to you to visit? Which attractions do you think you're going to be most excited about? And so on and so forth. And so then I have that as sort of an idea. I also am going to ask them, if they've been to Disney World before, where they stayed and did they like it? And where they stayed on their last vacation and did they like that? and if they have given any consideration to resorts, which one do they think they might like to stay in? And then I work with the answers that they've given me and the dates and their preferences and the things that they like and the ages of their children and the grandparents if they're going as well. And I put together 2 or 3 initial quotes using different resorts or different levels of room in one resort if they know that's where they want to stay. And I send those on and let them look over them. And then they might say, well, this resort looks really nice, but what about the contemporary? Could you give us a quote for that? Or, well, maybe we'd rather have 4 days of park tickets instead of 3. And what would it cost to add the Disney dining plan to this? And so then I will rework the quotes and send them back until it's just what they want. And then I book it. And then we come back to the original questions. And I start putting together a park plan for them in advance of their dining reservations. Now, some people don't book a year, 8 months in advance. Some people book very last minute. And I still have plenty to do for them as well, because we're going to scrounge to get those dining reservations. And I'm going to know the times of day that we're most likely able to get them and work with them on a schedule that works with their family and help them with fast passes and sort of fast track everything so that they too can have a magical vacation.
The fact that she isn't running out of breath while saying all this is amazing.
I talk about Disney a lot.
Yeah, I bet you do.
So what do you do about, like, quick trips with, like, weekends of just, like, the 3 days? Can you do that?
I do a lot of those myself. My husband is a teacher and my children are in school. So if it's a quick trip, they still get my assistance. Everyone's going to have a daily itinerary that's going to help guide them through the day that lists their dining reservations, if any, their fast passes. It has the park hours. It has what time parades and fireworks and things are and little tips for the day. So they'll have that. They also get a sort of a park plan touring guide, which is basically a multi-page document that gives them the idea of what ride order they should take and different tips about being in the park and my suggestions for quick service dining and that sort of thing. But if they book a weekend trip well in advance, I can still take care of dining reservations well in advance and that sort of thing. But I have had people book a weekend trip a week in advance. And, I know the park, so I don't have to go spend a whole lot of time researching it. And so I try to put together the very best park plan possible. Sometimes if dining reservations are really important, I get those first rather than making a park plan because I need to get them when I can. And then we plug the park plan in around that.
Well, it's like a lot of you spend a lot of time for every client, I would say. That's a lot of work.
Well, I have this thing where when I took my first Disney vacation with my then almost 3-year-old daughter, because they're free till they're 3.
Definitely.
I spent
burn them out
months reading blogs, reading guidebooks, learning everything that I could, studying maps, figuring out which things that she was going to enjoy the most and that sort of thing. And we had a wonderful trip. I had a daily plan for every day. And on the 3rd day, my husband said, forget the plan. Let's just do something else. And I shook the binder in his face and I said, no, we have to follow the plan. And we didn't. And about 2 hours later, he said, where's the plan? We need the plan. This is I'm not telling Mom. We need the plan. And he has never questioned anything at Disney again. He just lets me handle it.
With our family,
but on our next trip, I was expecting our next child. It was a very short trip during spring break. And I found out about a parent in my child's school who had a Disney-focused travel agency called Years of Experience. And so I went with them. And they knew so much about the parks that even though it was spring break, which is super duper crowded, I didn't feel like we waited in a lot of lines. My park plan took me to the places that I needed to be. She got me the dining reservations that I wanted. And she knew that the most important thing on that trip was that my almost 5-year-old wanted to go to Pixie Hollow and meet Tinkerbell and the other fairies. And my plan said what time Pixie Hollow was going to open that day, but she got notice that it was going to open an hour early. And she called me and she said, whatever you're doing, stop what you're doing and head to the entrance of Pixie Hollow right now. There were people that waited for 3.5 hours to meet Tinkerbell that day. We waited for 30 minutes.
Dang.
Wow.
That made an impact on me. And so then whenever my friends would come to me for help planning their Disney vacations, I would often help them, but other times I would say, just call Amy at Years of Experience. And so I went from being a client to being an independent agent. And now I have more knowledge of the park, so I don't have to do the research every time someone is going. And I want everyone to experience the same amount of magic that my family experienced on both of our trips. The one that I had time to plan and the one that I didn't. Because when you walk into Disney World for the first time, or it's been a long time since you've been there and you've got your children with you, it's overwhelming. And some people don't know about fast passes, and some people don't know about dining reservations. And they just book a trip and show up. And I want them to have a magical time. And so it does take a little bit of work, and I need to get to know the families, but it's even better when they come back to book a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth trip. Because I've been growing with these kids, and I know what they like, and I know what the family wants to do, and it's just super exciting.
The touring plans you're mentioning, we've used those in the past. And we found they can really speed your day up.
Yeah.
When you if that trip's about doing as much as you possibly can,
Yeah.
that's the way to do it.
Absolutely.
We don't seem to do that anymore because we kind of free will. We go with what we want to do.
Yeah.
We've done everything 50 times.
So we don't
It's
mind if this ride's too long. We'll skip to the next ride or whatever the case may be.
We'll just eat up Pico's Bells for the next 2 hours.
Yeah. But yeah.
Right. Well, and also your children are older.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a 2-hour line, you can look at them and say, all right, it's a 2-hour line. Do y'all want to wait? And if you do, they're not going to be, needing to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes and crying because they haven't seen Peter Pan yet. So it's different when I plan trips for families with teenagers or families with toddlers or families with teenagers and toddlers. And I do a lot of trips that are grandparents and parents and children all together.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done some where the children and parents went with both sets of grandparents.
Dang.
And I just love that. I get so excited when I get to do a trip like that because what lucky kids they are.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's different depending on the family dynamic. Does grandfather need a scooter? Do we need a stroller for this one? Is there a baby that's going to need to take a nap? Is it important to spend time in their resort in the pool? So what's a good time of day to do that without missing too much in the park? And so with each family that I work with, I learn a little bit more about scheduling for families. And with each trip that I take with my children as they get older, I get more experience. Like my children, we leave in the middle of the day when it's really hot and it gets really crowded. And this is what I suggest to almost all of my clients. And even my 12-year-old has to lie down in a dark room. She always says she's not tired, but she's been known to take a 4-hour nap at Disney World. And then when all the other families are leaving the park with crying, hot, sunburned children, my clients and my family are strolling right back in, ready to enjoy the fireworks.
Yep, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
All right.
We don't do that. We just race it. We're like, all right, we got this.
No, we just show up late.
Yeah, we do.
show up late and we leave early, but that's how we do it now.
We're just becoming old people at Disney.
Yeah. I got the oldest 17-year-old there.
It's just got me who's like, I'm here for the rides.
Sometimes you're going to rope drop the things that you don't have fast passes for to avoid the lines.
Yeah.
So you do a couple of rides at rope drop. They'll do some fast passes, eat lunch, go back and take a nap, and then come back for maybe a dinner reservation or a late afternoon fast pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we have something new open, like Flight of Passage or Toy Story Land, you got to get those fast passes whenever you can.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Then we have to schedule the family around those, but I try not to do that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Just going to be stuck in a 3-hour wait for Flight of Passage.
Oh, yes, easily.
We've done 3 hours. That's an easy wait.
Oh, yeah.
My husband and I went without the children, and we decided we were just going to wait for however long that it took. We brought hot coffee and books to read, and we just stood in the line. But the people around us that had small children were not nearly as rested and comfortable as we were.
Oh, yeah.
Because y'all were there, y'all had y'all's coffee, y'all had y'all's books, y'all were just rolling around.
Yeah, I love when you see people doing drink runs in the line and, the pre-line.
That's so much. We would be there, because it was just me and my sister doing it, and so we were over. We would have to step over, and we would just see people like carry like beers, like the cups of beers,
Yeah.
and then, like
They have like
the
4
drink.
cups. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how are you holding this much liquid?
And the ladies behind us, like one of them went and came back, and she's like, "Oh my gosh!"
You have to
Yeah.
get it before you get in line. Is what
Oh,
we
yeah.
found out.
Oh,
What makes it easier.
That's what we did, and we were like good for like half the wait.
Need to remember to bring a book next time. That would probably save. Make it go by a
Yeah.
little easier.
Yeah.
That was the best. We just read our books and moved along as we needed to. We had some snacks happening, and the wait passed very quickly. But if we had had our children with us, it would have been not so fun.
Yeah.
All right, so when using a travel agent such as yourself or independent travel agent, is there a fee up front or how's the fee covered?
There isn't. For Walt Disney World vacations that are booked to stay on Disney property through me, my services are completely free.
Dang.
Nice.
That's the way to do it.
And then anybody book a fee, then they pay for the rest of the trip just through you. They just would pay them through Disney. They just pay them directly through you or your company.
Yes,
That
they
they
pay
would.
through my company. I make the payments directly to Disney. The company invoices them. It's all on the up and up. But yes, our services are included in Disney vacations. Now, for people that stay off property, and there are a lot of reasons to stay off property, I offer what we call a concierge program, and there is a fee for that. I do the same exact things for off-property guests as I do for property guests, but there is a fee involved.
Okay. But your payment schedule is the same as you would pay as if you were going through Disney. So there's no difference.
Absolutely.
Okay.
$200 deposit, final payment due. We do schedule final payment for 45 days as opposed to 30 days, which is what Disney does, in case for some reason the credit card doesn't go through, or there's an issue with the Disney site, or my Wi-Fi should crash. We don't want anyone to have their vacation canceled for non-payment, so we go ahead and try to make it due 15 days ahead of time, and that way we have a window in case I can't reach the client for some reason or there's a problem.
You got a little buffer. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's for everybody's protection at that point.
Yes.
That question. I had another question after that one. I thought of when I asked the last one. Of course, you always forget it. Aaron, do you guys any questions?
I do the same thing.
You got questions coming to you so far?
Not really. I'm just enjoying listening to somebody
Yeah.
who knows about stuff
Yeah.
talk. It's kind of like I'm just listening to a podcast at this point. I kind of zoned out there.
What if there's like a really big family, like a group up to 20? Like, how do you deal with it the same way of like a family with like 4?
Yeah, because I see a lot of family
yeah.
reunions, and as a person who's like there with 4 people, initially I'm just struck with fear. Like, what ride are they going to?
Oh yeah.
Right. Usually when you've got a group of that many, they don't all necessarily want to ride the same rides at the same times.
Right.
Now, as far as fast passes go, I do provide my clients with a lot of information about their fast passes, and I make suggestions as to what I think they should get, but they do make their own fast passes. But they, like I said, they've been well prepared. My Disney experience is linked. I do all that. It's ready to go for them. But it's important that people know how to work that system.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do have them make their own fast passes. In addition to that, if we have 10 people traveling and there are all their fast passes to do on the same day, how are we going to choose who's to do first?
Right.
And we may be working on dining. But as far as the large groups go, it's going to depend on the makeup of the group. Sometimes a large group might be a whole bunch of mom friends that are going to the Food and Wine Festival for a few days without their families. Other times it's going to be, several sets of parents and children and a pair of grandparents.
Right.
So it depends on what the group is, but I do take the same approach. We tend to make dining reservations in groups of 6, 8, or 10 at the same time rather than trying to get for, say, 20 at once, because that would be almost impossible. And so if I've got 2 tables of 10 at the same time, then whatever the restaurant is going to do their very best to seat them near one another. But I can't make that promise. When I book the rooms, I add what's called a travel with number. So the resort knows all of these rooms are traveling together. And while they cannot guarantee rooms next to each other, they will do their very best to get everybody sort of in a cluster along in the same area so that they can, see each other and be nearby and run back and forth to the rooms. So I do tend to deal with one point person, even on a big trip. I will certainly answer questions and work with the other people, but there's a point person that's going to get back to me with decisions on, say, which resort and which restaurants and things like that, so that I know that I'm on the same page and that they can go back and take a vote and talk to people. But essentially it works the same way. I try to find out the best things for my client, things that are going to be the most magical, the specific needs of their family, and plan their vacation according to those.
All right.
Let me ask one. I got another question. What's one of the, based on your experience, what's been the most popular hotels that you get requested for?
Let's see. Well, we're going to have to divide them up. I get a lot of requests for the monorail resorts.
Of course.
But I often find, especially with first-time guests, that they don't really have a huge knowledge of the variations between the resorts. And I sometimes find that someone will contact me for the contemporary, but I'll ultimately book them at Beach Club if they tell me that the swimming pool is super important to them.
Yeah.
And that visiting the Star Wars attractions at Hollywood Studios is going to be the big highlight of their trip.
Right.
Then I tend to think that they're going to be happier at Beach Club or Yacht Club because they have the very best pool on property, and you've got the convenience of being right there next to Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
I had a family booking from the Midwest this year, and they were interested in either the Polynesian or Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Both are amazing.
But very, very important to them that there not be inappropriate cultural appropriation. And so they wanted me to talk to them about how the elements from Africa and the culture was used at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and the same with the Polynesian. And so I had to do a little research on that one. But then they ultimately picked Animal Kingdom Lodge. I have other families that start out wanting to book 2 rooms, say at French Quarter for their family, and I end up putting them in a family suite at Art of Animation, because that's going to suit them better. It's going to have the small kitchen. It still has 2 bathrooms, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a lot of requests for Wilderness Lodge, which I love. It might be my favorite resort. It's hard to pick. I get a lot of requests for Art of Animation from parents of little girls that love The Little Mermaid. But when I get a request for moderates, I'll typically quote about 3, but I end up booking Port Orleans, French Quarter, or Riverside most of all.
Okay. So you really try to look at the family as far as what their needs are, as well as what they're requesting, but try to base it on their needs. So you're really getting what you think they'll get the most out of, such as you suggested the beach club because it's closer to Epcot. So that's what works great for a family or a group that's trying to go there for Epcot events.
Yes.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
All right, Erin, you had a question?
Yeah. All right. So you fill in first-time goers a lot about all the different tips and tricks. Mm-hmm. Do you go into pin trading with them, which is something that even people that go there have been there might not even know about it sometimes?
Yeah. They get a document in their travel packet in addition to their daily itineraries and their touring plans for each park. They get a letter from me outlining the important things in their vacation. If they have the Disney dining plan, I've got 2 pages of my tips for maximizing the dining plan. And I have all these other things that they get depending on, what they need. But I do provide for all families with children my guide to Disney pin trading. Because I think that is something that's super fun. It's a way to help kids wait in a long line sometimes, because if the cast member has on a lanyard, they will trade, and little children love to collect and trade. In fact, a lot of my clients will get attached to their folder a couple of pins to get their children started in the pin trading. But I also want to outline the etiquette with them, and that things like don't pull down on the cast member's lanyard. Don't try to take the pin off the lanyard yourself. You just point with one finger at which one you want and let the cast member remove it. Things like that, and just sort of give them the basics of it, because I think it's super fun and a lot of people totally miss out on it and don't know it's even happening.
Yeah, pin trading's always been something I loved, and it's a great way to kill time. I spent like an hour and a half in the World of Disney pin trading last trip because our uncle, he had to go get something from somewhere, and I was just waiting with our grandparents in there, so I spent an hour just walking around pin trading.
And
I'm
then
not
at one
going to
point,
lie,
like,
we've
50
done that as
people.
well. And we pin traded on Disney Cruise Line.
We did not pin
We
trade on
did
the
not.
cruise line.
I did. I got like a special cast pin on the cruise line.
All
You
right,
don't
that's
remember that?
fancy.
No, I don't remember
Yeah,
that one.
I love that
You're
pin.
gonna have to show up to me.
That whole trip's a blur now. It's been so
Oh,
long.
Yeah, I remember getting that pin, getting sunburned, and falling on the deck. That's what I remember.
And eating a lot of
eating ice cream out of a cup with a fork.
I remember eating ravioli a lot.
I eat mac and cheese a
So
lot.
good. You eat a lot of mac and cheese.
You ate
on
mac and
cruise.
cheese every night.
I did, and I don't regret it.
Do you know what I regret?
What?
I regret that they no longer have pot roast and cheeseburger, macaroni and cheese at, it just jumped on my head.
Friar
In
Tuck's.
Fantasyland. Yes.
God,
Yeah.
I wanted to try that, but it wasn't there
That's
last
right.
time we went there.
That's why I had the brisket macaroni and cheese when we went to
That was so good too.
the
They,
Plaza because they didn't have it there anymore. We were going to Friar Tuck's,
Yeah.
why they didn't have it, so we ate it there instead.
yeah, man, I was looking forward to that. That's like all my favorite
That was-
foods.
That was the discussion at the plaza of who's getting the brisket with the macaroni and cheese. I got
Well,
salad.
I didn't get the brisket. They didn't have that for very long, but we had the pot roast macaroni and cheese on several trips. It was one of the tips in my daily itineraries for people. I was reluctant to try the cheeseburger one because it had chunks of meat and then lettuce and tomatoes on top of macaroni and cheese.
No, thank you.
And it was, I know you don't like vegetables. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, not a thought of
So good.
that. Yeah, we kind of missed the whole gourmet macaroni
yeah.
and cheese. We missed that at Disney somehow. I don't know how we missed it, but we missed it.
Yeah, because mac and cheese is like our jump off.
Oh, yes.
And the more meat to it, I'll
Just
take
me
that.
just diving into a bowl of macaroni and cheese. That's fine with me.
Wait, my kids have it for breakfast a lot. How do you feel about the changes they just announced at Whispering Canyon?
Oh, bye.
Yeah, I don't think it would be.
Yeah.
It's going to change change the whole hotel a lot. 'cause
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of you always heard when you walked in the hotel, you heard the commotion
Catch
up
up.
there.
I mean, like, that gave the liveliness to the hotel.
It did.
And that was the reason to choose that restaurant over others with similar offerings.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we would travel to Wilderness Lodge when we weren't staying there just to eat there.
That was kind of our whole reason that we stayed at Wilderness Lodge our last trip was so we go to Whispering Canyon and then go to Hoop Doo.
Yep. We stayed last time just for those reasons.
But really bothered
the
me that
bison
people were
burger.
like, I didn't understand what was happening. It's like, it's not a shock whenever you go into the hotel. Like, it's something that is very known that is a loud restaurant.
There seems to be a lot of discussion online as to what the exact reason was it for. Was
Yeah.
it because of people in the restaurant that it concerned them, they didn't understand what was going on, or was it people in the hotel possibly complaining? And
Which
we've seen-
doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you're staying at like that hotel, you can look up stuff about the hotel.
I think
You
it's
should know about it.
And yeah.
it feels like you should know about it, but then when people don't have as great a travel agent as Dorothy over here, you might not you might not know.
that.
And that's always been one of my selling points. They've got this great restaurant experience at Whispering Canyon, and I tell them about it, and I tell them about the bottomless milkshakes.
Mm.
And my kids were super stoked to find out that the milkshake counts as a beverage on the dining plan. So they could still get the milkshake and a dessert. And, you know, they were like, well, I said, you know, you don't need milkshake and dessert. But Mom, you know, you've already paid for that on the Disney plan. You know you don't want to waste food.
It's for your benefit in the long run.
Yes. So we did package it up and put it in the refrigerator in our room. And can I tell you how glad I am that all rooms at Disney World have a refrigerator?
Oh, it makes
Oh,
everything
yeah.
easier.
So much.
It really does. It really
Especially with
does.
us, because we always bring like bottled drinks. So we'll just whenever we get there, and we get all our stuff. We just end up putting some in there. So on the way out, we can just grab one.
Yeah, we bought
Yep.
for leftovers and bottled drinks. This makes it very much
Milk.
more. Because back in the day when we stayed at Pop Century, when y'all were young,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you'd have a refrigerator, sometimes you wouldn't just look at the
Yeah.
draw.
Mhm.
Unless you had somebody with diabetes with you.
Yeah.
My mom at the time, when she was pregnant with Lily, gestational diabetes, she got the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And then right soon after that, they put them in every hotel room. It's been a great thing to have. We just try to stay in a one bedroom. So we have the full kitchen. So we
That's
have the
nice.
full refrigerator.
We also
So
don't
we get
use
the big
full kitchen.
refrigerator
We just
and
use
the
the-
microwave.
Yeah, we just use the microwave and the fridge.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's all you really need.
Oh yeah.
And that's one reason I like the cabins at Fort Wilderness. Have you ever stayed in one?
No,
we
we
seen
haven't.
haven't.
outside of them, and they look pretty. We never stayed in one.
Never have stayed in one, though.
I love them. For one thing, if your children are older than 4 or 5, you know, if we're there and it's, you know, load-in day or checkout day, I can say, y'all go play outside in the yard. And they'll, you know, run laps around the house. There's that great deck. There's a full kitchen. And of course, the boat to the Magic Kingdom is fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
We use
Except
that
for
a
when it's
lot.
very cold.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I have watched the sunrise from the boat launch at Fort Wilderness and Wilderness Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Because she's just up that early getting ready for stuff.
Well, you hit the rope
Yeah.
drop.
True.
Yeah. Well, my kids had a goal of being family of the day before that program was discontinued, so I have arrived at the Magic Kingdom as early as 5:30 in the morning on multiple occasions.
Oh wow.
Wow. Yeah, I take it you never got it?
We never got it.
Oh, man. That's a shame.
There's actually just like a little plaque somewhere that says Dorothy. Just like, this person came really early every day. Just
Yeah.
give her a plaque.
But you know, the family of the day got that golden fast pass. That's why my kids wanted it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
That and their desserts.
Yeah. That's the reason
Yes.
we would want it.
Oh, my kids do love their desserts.
All right. Well, I think we got to definitely ask, how can we contact you, or any of our listeners contact you?
Well, that is easy enough to do. My email address is my first initial and my last name. So Dorothy Holland, it's D Holland, spelled just like the country, HOLLAND, at themouseexperts.com. It's kind of a mouthful. D Holland at themouseexperts.com. And that's with Years of Experience, your vacation planners for all Disney destinations. My phone number is 843-633-3277 or 843-633-EARS.
Mm.
You're real smart with this.
I like that.
Oh yeah.
You can find me on Instagram at 3, that's a number 3, not spelled out, Goofy Gals, because me and my daughters are the Goofy Gals. My website is earsbydorothy.weebly.com, and you can find me at Ears of Experience by Dorothy Holland on Facebook.
Okay. We'll make sure all that gets put in the show
Oh, yeah.
notes.
Oh, yeah?
So
Thank you.
They can look for it easily.
Share that on all the Facebook and whatnots I do.
Yes. If you don't mind.
No, I don't mind
Okay.
at all. Well, I will stop talking, and thank you so much for having me as a guest on your podcast. It was super fun.
It was.
Thank
great
you.
fun.
Thanks.
This was great. All right, now that we have our fun, very fun interview done with, let's go ahead and remind everyone how they can get in contact with our show and stay up to date real quick. So we have madefordisney.com. We have our Facebook page, Made for Disney, our Twitter, Made for Disney, our Instagram, Made for Disney the podcast. You can email us over at madefordisney@gmail.com. Of course, all that is in the show notes. All of Dorothy's information is also going to be in the show notes, or you can back up a couple minutes. Either way, you can find it there. Is there anything else for me to add?
You can also, if you have any comments about the show, you can comment on our thing.
On our website.
On our
Yes,
website, yeah.
At the website, if you go listen to the episodes, you can look at below the episode, and usually there's a link there for comments. So you can comment directly through the website. Or there's also, you can go to the contact page on the website, and you got your name, your email address, whatever you want to say, and I'll send it right to us.
All right, no other things to go over?
Nope.
Nope, we're good.
Then I guess all that's left is for me to thank you, as always, for joining us here on Made for Disney, the happiest podcast to ever sail the Seven Seas Lagoon. Bye.